Hey everybody, it's Grant, and today we are going to be going over the purchase of our 20th rental property. In today's video, we are going to literally show you how small deals can turn into huge profits. In today's video, I want to share with you how I look for deals, how I negotiate these deals, and how I prefer to finance when I can, so that way when you're looking at your next 4 units or less, you will know exactly my method, so that way you can better make a decision on your next rental property. I am extremely excited to talk to you about this next part. Our rentals are not only on a climb, but truth be told, after you see the next few videos, you are going to see that they are on a skyrocket. When we started this channel, we started it with only 13 units. Shortly after, we ended up doing a property on Common Street where we acquired a owner finance property and we got 2 units with it. We also just now finished one of the remodels on that one and we have another one to come. As well as I showed you where we were building a duplex in future videos that we've already filmed, already packaged, and they're already ready to show you what can really be done in brand new construction videos. Also, I showed you where we bought a 4-plex with the land to build 16 more units. All of that has been done right here on this channel, and I haven't seen any channels that do that much work that fast. And the reason we've done that is because I have now, over all these 12 years, kept putting all of my money into real estate, into land, and calling it land banking or property banking, to where that was my savings account, to where I couldn't touch the money I do. And it's not just I put 25% down of retail. I made sure I got the absolute best deal I possibly could, or I built it and I bought the land for the absolute best deal I possibly could. When it all comes down to it, I put 25 and 30% down on all of these properties. Every time I had enough money to buy the next one, I went out and did it. What ends up happening is, now think of the equity there. If it's costing me 80% to build it, and then I put 25% down, you do the math. That has allowed us to now have the opportunity, and there are a lot of things going on right now. I don't know if you can see the stress on my face, but the excitement in the stress. It's a beautiful thing. I'm sure I'll get some scared money, don't make monies. Understand, when I show you this channel, I'm doing it all. But it's still that sense of what if. But in this channel, now we have the duplex coming. We have the unit we're buying today. I can assure you right now that our income, and if you want to see this, I will drop a video for you. So just comment below if you want to see my rental incomes, have now surpassed what I make as the director of a large automotive group. It's a very exciting time. That is the gross. It's not what I take home. There are mortgages and insurance and all kinds of expenses that I will happily share with you in that video. But it's a truly incredible time, and I can't wait to share it all with you here on the channel. On June 18th, we ended up picking up this single-family townhome that is located right next door to the 4-plex that we bought with the land to build 16 more units that we shared with you earlier this year. So how I came about this specific deal. Mr. Vidrine, that is the owner of S&B Capital, who bought the first building in front of my 4-plex with the land to build 16 more units. He bought it and he listed all 4 units and sold 3 of them within 2 months. He sold each unit for about $150,000, and then the very last unit that he sold, besides this one, was for $136,000. So he did these units and he got stuck with one. He decided to rent it and then pulled it off the market. One thing that I will tell you, and here's a pro tip: follow up with everything in life. Follow up is the one thing that people consider work, and anytime it goes from fun, my job, to doing my job well, sometimes the doing my job well part falls off. National data shows that only 10% of the population that are in sales or whatever, people business, follow up. What a follow-up means is, if me and you have a meeting and you leave, I go, "Thank you, Mr. Viewer, for giving me the time. Thank you for allowing me to meet with you. And thank you for smashing the like button, as well as commenting anything that you like in this video." It makes the other person feel good, they appreciate it, and it keeps the contact going. Anytime somebody reaches out to me for a job at Main Squeeze that I am fully staffed for, we write their name in a book and their phone number. Anytime somebody calls me for a rental and I don't have any vacancies, I write their name and their number in the book. And I also put how much I enjoyed them. I write something about them, the person with the pet, right? Very much enjoyed the conversation. So when I get rentals available, I call them very quickly and see if I can get them filled. Follow-up is one of the easiest things to do, but it's one of the most effective things that doesn't take any money and very little time. Well, also what I do is if I see a property that I enjoy, I watch it. I will pay attention to it and I'll make offers, but typically my offers the first time are never taken. This property was pulled off the market. I am the HOA of this building, so I have been talking with him on a regular basis, not about the property, but just in general. Following up, we became friends. He reached back out to me and for this off-market property, offered me to purchase it. If you'd like to see more on this particular property as well as this particular subject, I have my 8 steps to how I look for good deals, and I'm going to drop it in the link below in the description, so hopefully you'll check that out one after this one. The first time that I actually met Mr. Vidrine was because we had some issues with the property. Now I'm not going to get into those issues today, but we have made some videos about that. So that way if you ever buy something, you will know how to navigate an HOA even better because you have my mistakes that you can learn from. Way less expensive than making your own personal mistakes. You never want to take a good deal and turn it into a bad deal because of a learning curve. So please tune into the future ones and take my learning curve as an example. What ended up happening here is he reached out to me and we talked about it and he says, hey, you know, I'm looking to get out of the higher end rental business. I like trailers, I like single family, and if I could get all Section 8, I would do it. He goes, I'd love to sell you this one. I said, Mr. Vidrine, I am not currently in the market, but I always tell myself I will never turn my nose up at a deal. So please send it over to me, and it might not be the right time, but please reach out in the future because right now I'm trying to get this handled and that handled and this handled, and at the time the duplex was being built, and I need maybe a little time, and then we can talk again. And so what ended up happening with this is we stayed in constant contact, our friendship grew, and he kept offering me the project, and this was a property that he had listed and it didn't sell, so he's definitely a motivated seller, even though it came off the market. As our friendship grew, we talked about each other's deal. Of course, with mine, with the land and all of the other things, he was very envious and was upset that the previous owner did not offer it to him. He had let me know that he paid $125,000 for each one of his units, and that would be for the 4 individual apartments. And he asked me just to give him a number, just to see where we were at. And I told him, I said, Mr. Vidrine, I don't like to over leverage. If you take my calculations with what I'm building for currently, what I have now, I am going to be less than $100,000 in all of these units when I'm done. There's no way I'm going to overpay for yours at 125. It just, the numbers make sense, but just go sell it to someone else for 125, and maybe one day, if all these are generating so much income and I'm having issues with the tenants, maybe I'll buy them then, but it's not going to be the return I'm looking for. He says, give me a number. Understand, first tip here in the negotiation process, never get emotionally tied to a project. The second that you get emotionally tied to a project is when you pay too much. I then told him, okay, I want to make sure we stay friends. Please don't be insulted by this. But you want an offer? How close to $100,000 are you willing to come? Because if it's not close, I'm just not your buyer, and it's okay. I still want to be your friend. I'm your HOA, and we'll probably do a deal in the future. He pretty much gave you the exact response you're thinking. Oh, there's just no way. I can't do that. I can't take a $25,000 loss. You know, would you do 120? And I said, there's just no way. I'm not interested at 120. That's $20,000 over my average cost here. I just can't do it. And we parted and stayed in constant contact. And then he came back at $115,000. This offer was tempting, but still not exactly what I was looking for if I was going to push myself past my speed that I was comfortable with. I like to do things in a timely manner, but if the deal presents itself, I will move faster. Lately, because of the economy that we're in, because of the illness that is going on, I am getting phone call after phone call for properties. These once-in-a-lifetime deals, if you play your cards right during a recession or some type of 100-year event that's no one's fault, can be the best wealth-building times of your life. That is a fact. And instead of letting you be a victim of it, you can be the victor of this. I still told him I can't do that. So with a little bit more negotiations, we settled on $110,000, the rent for the following month, the security deposit, and the property appraised for $145,000, which is an instant $35,000 equity to our portfolio. Now let's get into the good stuff. The terms of the loan, my interest rate, the cash down, and the overall process of that, as well as a detailed version, and the most detailed version I've done yet, of the closing cost on the deal. I decided to put 25% down, totaling in $27,500, and our closing cost was an additional $6,615. Now I'm going to get into what that includes in just a second, but that puts us at a total out-of-pocket cost on this particular deal of $34,115. I got 3.875 for a 30-year fixed rate with principal and interest. My note is $387.95. Our insurance cost is $1,081 per year, and our tax estimate, which I seem to think this is very high. I went and compared it against all of my other things. It's coming in at $2,316, and this is in a worse area than some of my nicer properties that I pay right around $1,200 for individual units when you divide it out. So I think this is going to go down. I actually have the attorneys working on this right now. So when you add in the insurance and the taxes into the escrowed note, you get a total after taxes and insurance of $580.01. Another huge property plus was the fact that we actually re-signed the current tenant who has lived there for a year on an additional year lease. He now has signed with us for $1,000 a month, and even though we haven't made our first mortgage payment, we have collected our first month's rent, which is a great feeling. One thing that people really enjoy about this channel and the way that I portray real estate is the real way of real estate. This deal ended up being full of hiccups where we were buying the property in hopes that the tenant was going to stay. He got a little nervous because, of course, he was getting an option to leave. After he met me, felt great. He had some personal things that had happened that we all do, especially due to the illness, and everything's back on track, and he's a very good guy, and we cannot wait to go through this rental journey as us, the landlords, and him, the tenant. Also, on this in particular deal, the countertops were not like mine. Now understand, the units I own, the 4 right next door, were built recently, but on these first 4, they have a laminate countertop. I didn't know that until after we had negotiated, because when a tenant's in there, I didn't go view the property. I just assumed they were the same. Mistake on my part. Also, there's no top cabinets, which isn't a huge deal on the one side of the kitchen, but the other side is still the same full kitchen. It was relatively dirty and damaged. There was some door issues, some doors off of the hinges, just some things that we will have to go in there and take care of. My units have a few more upgrades than this one does, but for the most part, I am being particular, and because of the damage to the unit, and because of the uncertainty at the time of signing about the tenant, we also got an additional $3,025 given to us from the seller. Now that included the deposit as well as the month's rent, but we also factored in a little bit of pain and suffering because we would have to touch up the apartment, and we didn't know that at the time that we actually agreed on the deal. Now, as far as property management, we understand that I manage all of them myself. But something has had to happen recently for me to turn this from a hobby into a business. I've never ran them as a hobby, but I've ran them as an in-between where everything wasn't accounted for. So what we just now started to do, even though I still manage 100% of these properties, Kayla is having to help me more and more. And because we are looking at hiring in a maintenance man, we are looking to start just an additional fund, a slush fund kind of account that we can either use as a vacation fund, take the whatever, or reinvest it, which most likely will be reinvested. Don't tell Kayla. But what ends up happening here is we're going to put this 10% of this account, which is going to be $100, as well as all of our other 20 units and growing, we'll all now start putting a 10% fee into the new LLC that I have now created as the management company to collect the rents. It's still me, but I am going to take that 10% from all of my properties, leave it in the management account. That way, just as a slush fund, it's a little different. And then, instead of everybody having to write various checks to various LLCs that are at different properties, now they just write it straight to the management company, and we are going to have more information on this in a future video. That's it for the video, guys. If you enjoy videos like this, please power up that like button and show us that you very much enjoy us showing you as transparent of all the properties that we do, as well as all of the growth that we have. 13 properties to 20 and more. And we've only been doing these videos since mid-February. Valentine's Day is when we posted our first video. And instead of taking Kayla on a date, I think I still did, but I was posting videos to share with you guys, and now she has to share me with all of you, and I really hope you enjoy it. If you enjoy it, make sure that you hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell. We post every Wednesday and Friday. Also, comment anything you'd like to see in future videos, as well as I hope you have a fantastic afternoon, and I will see you on the next one.